Hey everybody, this is Wendy Turman. I am the Deputy Director, and one of the things I do is work with our collections that are going to be shown in the new museum and try and help put together some of the stories you're going to see. So right now I am talking to you from a fine arts facility custom warehouse out in an undisclosed location in the suburbs of Maryland. This is where our museum collections have been stored ever since we packed up the historic synagogue to move it 4 years ago. So I come out here and work with the objects and images and other materials that are going to be part of the exhibit. So I'm going to show you a couple stories today, doing a little more deep dive from what Rebecca gave you a little overview. So she started off talking about one of the exhibit areas we call Who is a Jewish Washingtonian? What do we learn from some of the objects in our collection about what makes a Jewish Washingtonian? So the first thing I'm showing you is this fantastic little object. This is a brand new to our collection, just given to us a couple weeks ago, given to us by a local artist named Mark Kellner. Mark, his parents lived in the Soviet Union and were able to emigrate in the early 1970s. He was then born here in the United States, and he calls himself a Jacksonvanic Baby, just like this little onesie, because he came over. They got out of the Soviet Union because of the Jacksonvanic trade legislation that put pressure on the Soviet Union to let refugees out and immigrants out. And so this is his little nod to his identity as a one-time Jacksonvanic baby. So it's a piece of artwork that tells us a little bit about a Jewish Washingtonian in a way that's a little unexpected. One of the favorite sparkly things, people always like sparkly items, so we try and this is a charm bracelet worn by Celia Grossberg. She was awarded this charm bracelet in 1956 for her work with Israel bonds. So each one of these little charms, the 12 tribes of Israel on this little bracelet you can see here, each charm represents $2,500 that she raised for Israel bonds. And she continued her work as an advocate and fundraiser in the Jewish community for many years. This is another recent acquisition. This is a hard hat. You can see we're going to be wearing hard hats a lot when we're building the museum. This hard hat was worn by Robert Israel Silverman, just like it says here. So Robert Silverman was the son of an immigrant grocer, grew up in Washington, D.C., attended Business High School, where he was the captain of the Cadet Corps. He became a real estate developer. This is where the hard hat comes in, and he was later even president of the Jewish Historical Society. So we're proud to be able to tell his story, his multifaceted Jewish Washington story. A completely different kind of object that's also fairly new to our collections is a goodie bag. It is hot pink, and it's got little magnets from that depict Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the young woman who was bat mitzvahed at Addis Israel at 6th and I a couple years ago, created this feminist giveaway goodie bag on the occasion of her bat mitzvah. There's Wonder Woman mints and inspirational sayings on these cards that she created. So that's sort of the way she's thinking about her Jewish identity. Something that you don't really ever get to see, because we do keep these in storage because they're so fragile, but we'll be finding a wonderful way to show them in the exhibition, are a series of 3 books that we have that were created for Simon Wolff. Simon Wolff was a 19th century spokesman and orator and man about town for the Jewish community. He cultivated relationships with various presidents and intervened or advocated for Jews internationally as well as locally. His daughter created this set of books where she hand painted every single page, and then they were given personal messages by political and business leaders, rabbis, writers from around the world, and including this page has President Theodore Roosevelt. We have another page with Cyrus Adler, who was the head of the Jewish Theological Seminary, and Emil Berliner is in here. Berliner, of course, was a local 7th Street Jewish immigrant and inventor who We have other materials from Berliner in our collection. So that's a completely different kind of a really precious and exciting object that helps us tell stories about Simon Wolff in a different way. Moving on into that participation area that what Rebecca was talking about, where we talk about change and how people make change and have made change. One of the most precious things I think that we own is this banner that was used by Hyman Bookbinder. Hyman Bookbinder was a Jewish activist. He worked for the federal government as the presidential advisor in the war on poverty. He helped desegregate Glen Echo Amusement Park in 1960 with the residents of Bannockburn and Howard University students. And in 1963, he attended the March on Washington and carried this banner. And you can see it's a little bit faded. That happens after you have something like this so meaningful that you're so proud of, that you display it and carry it around with you forever. So we're really thrilled to be able to show it. Of course, that we can't talk about making change in Washington without talking about lawyers, and we've certainly got a lot of them. And we also have a lot of Supreme Court justices. So several years ago, we were given this. This is one of Justice Louis Brandeis's law school notebooks from Harvard Law School in 1877. So this notebook with his handwriting in it helps give us a wonderful foundation to tell the story of Brandeis, his nomination to the Supreme Court, his long-lasting legacy for Washington and for lawyers here in Washington, and his impact on the law. Rebecca talked about the Where is Jewish Washington, and Philip is going to go into that a little more in detail with the interactive map story, but I just want to show you that we do have a couple objects that we'll have in addition to the interactive map table. So we have this mural from 415 M Street. You might remember when we rescued this mural from the home where it was in a building just outside of downtown that was used by the Young Men's Hebrew Association in 1914, and then the Hebrew Home of Greater Washington was there for 10 years. And then a small Jewish congregation, Shomer Shabbos, was there for several years, and they painted this mural. It was then painted and wallpapered over and forgotten about until it was rediscovered by its last private owner several years ago. And we were able to go in before the building was renovated and save it. So it's a wonderful story about the changing neighborhoods in Washington, and we're very excited to be able to show it. Then we have a couple other things showing some of the types of businesses, things that you might remember from the past. So how could we talk about Washington without talking about Posen's Delicatessen? People tell me they still remember the brownies. I never had one, but I feel like I have because I've heard about them so often. So we'll be showing some of the stories of Posen's. We also just recently received this is a little Anvil from Gishner Iron Works, which of course was downtown for many, many decades and built ironworks all over the city, White House gates and embassy fences, and even the fence around our historic synagogue once upon a time. So we were pretty excited to show that. When I got here to the warehouse today, I was walking around and I picked something up that I hadn't looked at in a long time. I'd kind of forgotten about it. And I just had to show it to you because it's a shovel from a groundbreaking. And this is the groundbreaking for the Addis Israel Synagogue at the corner of 6th and I. This is when they broke ground in 1906. So we're going to be getting out our shovels and breaking ground on the new museum soon. And I just wanted to show it to you and hope you all join us very soon in the new museum. Thanks very much.